Hello! I am Aoyalaipe, and I like to hop into top tier matches in War Thunder and then personally kill the entire enemy team by myself. Welcome to my channel. SPAMRAAMs have arrived, my friends. But do you know what else arrived? A letter from YouTube's legal team, which I got just the other day. Let's just say someone did something very silly. They know who they are, they know what they did, and they know it didn't work. I am going to have a field day making fun of the person who did that, but that is a different video. I have some new patch content to cover. But if you don't want to miss that other upcoming video, but don't want to remember how to spell Aoyalaipe, then subscribe or ring the bell. Okay, so on to the new stuff. First, I'm going to call all active homing radar missiles SPAMRAAMs. Now, I want you to contemplate a concept that to many players would be utterly horrifying. How do SPAMRAAMs work in arcade mode? Because if you think top tier has too many missiles to deal with, then you probably don't play top tier air arcade. I mean, look, if truly incomprehensible numbers of missiles going through the air bothered you, then you already quit arcade years ago. That ship has sailed. I have here the Israeli improved Baz, or the Baz Meshupar. Someone is probably going to tell me in the comments I pronounced that wrong. This is the Israeli F-15C, and as soon as I saw I got assigned to this side of this particular map, I loaded this thing up with 8 AMRAAM A's and was about 85% sure I was going to go on some really nutty kill streak with it. Gaijin doesn't really use the dev server to balance stuff in arcade, so we're all guinea pigs on patch day here in top tier air arcade. Also, I'm going to be using ACM instead of track wall scan. I know that's probably going to confuse a lot of people, but I'll explain why later. There's a few reasons for this. Now, as soon as SPAMRAAMs hit the live server, it was a total free-for-all in arcade. Everyone had huge numbers of really overpowered missiles and no one really knew how they worked. As I previously mentioned, Gaijin tests stuff in realistic mode, but then basically makes their best guess for how it should work in arcade, at least top tier, and that always makes patch days so much fun for TTAA players. You can theoretically test how missiles work in arcade on the dev server, but it's tricky to do that in practice, and you're definitely not getting 24 randos together to test the best tactics and strategies. So the main technical difference between arcade and realistic when it comes to radar missiles is that the impact of ground clutter in arcade is tuned way down, but the main practical difference is that the terrain features in arcade are tuned way up. Add in the multipathing changes and all the stuff Gaijin has added to try to balance SPAMRAAMs in general, and the fine-tuning differences in missiles between realistic and arcade, and there's just so much to discover through trial and error. I mean, I could also just round up a bunch of people and then test out the finer details in a custom match, and I'll probably get around to doing that this weekend. However, this map sidesteps most of the technical nitty-gritty by simply giving one team a blatantly unfair advantage, which I will happily explain how to exploit in just a moment. As you might notice, my game audio is about to cut in and out in a few seconds, and that's because I was tabbing in and out of the game. There's a glitch that sometimes causes my controls to lock up that I've been seeing since the patch came out, and if this is happening to you, the way I've been able to fix it is quickly tabbing in and out of War Thunder will at least temporarily fix it. And the glitch only seems to last temporarily anyway, so a quick fix is fine. Now, as I was saying, this map is blatantly unfair. So unfair that I'm going to kill an absolutely silly number of people despite intermittent control issues on my plane. So first things first, the shape of this map tends to naturally funnel players into a line in the center, and I do quite a lot of my nutty kill streaks on this map. This is kind of like the mountain ridge of flat maps, if that makes sense. If I have something with a lot of firepower, it tends to really wipe the floor on this map. And the new F-15s each get to carry up to 8 SPAMRAAMs. Or, well, they get to carry infinity SPAMRAAMs in arcade because they reload, and that is just an absolutely silly amount of firepower. Now, that was this map on a normal day before SPAMRAAMs came along. After SPAMRAAMs came along, this map has gone just a little bit completely busted. You see, my side of the map has mountains, the enemy side does not. I mean, it has some shallow hills, but it would be easy to just angle missiles over them. Now, in the past, the mountains on my side just gave someone on my team a slightly safer but very far out of the way place to reload if anyone ever bothered to fly there, which very few ever bothered. However, the key difference is that SPAMRAAMs are, among many other things, very long-range fire-and-forget weapons. The range in practice is just good. It's not insane. I'll explain more on that later. But the point is, AMRAAM A's, which I have here, or technically AIM-120As, are just long range enough that I can sit in or near those mountains and shoot people who are in or near the center of the map. And the shape of this map also tends to unwittingly funnel the enemy team right into what is, in effect, a massive kill zone for me. Now, for practical reasons, it will still have to go out into the open and kind of near the center of the map quite a bit, and I'll explain how I survive while doing that in a few minutes. But in theory, I'm able to shoot them, but they can't shoot me. I can duck behind terrain before their missile reaches me, but they're just out in the open, they don't have any cover. And remember the official Aoyalaipe Hunts team's channel motto, which is, missiles don't go through mountains. SPAMRAAM share this key weakness with every other missile that has ever been in War Thunder or invented in real life. So it's a really nice advantage to have when there are like 24 people fighting each other and all of them are fuzzy on how these new missiles actually work. Because Gaijin doesn't test this stuff in arcade, and also the maps are completely untested, so there's broken stuff like this. I love playing stuff that isn't properly tested, because then I just get to slaughter all the guinea pigs. Like, I went on a 20+ kill streak 5 times yesterday. 2 of them were back to back. That's a first for me. So as soon as I saw this map, I was like, I'm almost certain I'm gonna kill this entire team. This map is just too busted with AMRAAMs. The analogy I would make would be if you ever played Battlefield 1 when it like first came out, you know how the defending side in operations games would sometimes dogpile into some ridiculously overpowered bunker? Yeah, this is sort of the same vibe. Honestly, if Gaijin cut this map down the middle and mirrored it, and gave both teams the same mountains, with a big wide open center, same as it is now, that would be a really interesting map. That would be a lot of fun with SPAMRAAMs. Anyway, so all of this is made a lot worse by the fact that once the enemy team's SPAMRAAMers go down, this plane snowballs so hard, because my plane will outrun, outgun, and outrange everything the enemy team has. Plus, I have a very good hiding spot, which I won't really need anymore in a minute or two, because I can just sweep everyone in sight. Okay, now, as I was explaining earlier, the difference between the theoretical range and the practical range of the SPAMRAAM is huge. These things aren't inherently easy to dodge, but they are a lot easier to dodge than normal semi-active homing radar missiles. That much I have worked out. The specifics, though, I'm still working on those. A longer range seems to make it much easier to dodge them. These things can theoretically kill you from very far away, but they seem to really struggle in practice past 12 and especially 15 kilometers. And this is partially because it gives you a lot of time to dodge the missile, and partially because there are so many missiles going through the air that if you're actually going to be vulnerable for long enough for someone's missile to hit you from that far away, then someone else's missile is almost certainly going to hit you first. So earlier in this match, before the enemy team got snowballed pretty bad, I wasn't just sitting in the mountains. That was sort of the theoretically optimal move, but what I was actually doing was I was running pretty far into the flat area of the map and shooting at people who are also in the flat area. To have an almost guaranteed kill, the ideal range as of now for AMRAAMs seems to be around 5 to 7-ish kilometers, though that'll probably change as I learn more, and it could certainly vary with different SPAMRAAMs that came out yesterday. However, earlier in this match, I was going for targets that were about 10 or 12 kilometers away. The reason why is that that's the longest range I've been able to get reliable kills at, and I don't want to go closer for even more reliable kills because the targets I'm shooting at shoot back. And to be clear, I'm giving those ranges in terms of a direct head-on attack because angles drastically affect your range when you're dealing with radar missiles. I made a whole video on it, I'll link at the end of this one. It's pretty funny. I show you how to snipe people from across the map with the radar-guided variant of the AIM-9B. That's right, you know that really crummy infrared missile? If you know how the angles work, you can reliably kill someone from over 9 kilometers away with the radar-guided version of that. Now, whatever is up with SPAMRAAMs in arcade, as I said, they seem to be way easier to dodge or chaff if you outrange them, which is surprisingly easy to do, in practice that is. That means these new missiles are extremely vulnerable to just simple cold flying. Cold flying means you just fly away from the missile and it has to cover an awful lot of distance to chase you down. So you're effectively outrunning it, but that is a bit of a simplification. So if I launch my missile from further away and then turn, I have more of a head start to escape the return fire from the enemy players. If I combine that with hitting the deck and chaffing, maybe doing some maneuvers, these missiles seem like they can't actually hit me. So, as long as I turn early enough, that is. Again, I'll try to do some proper testing this weekend in custom battles to suss out which of these factors is driving it. But as of right now, cold flying and terrain are the cards I try to play the most. I can sometimes chaff, notch, or out maneuver missiles in isolation, but that is not nearly as reliable. So anyways, by firing from sort of the edge of practical range, I can use cold flying to escape and get back into the hills before people are able to shoot back and kill me. Or at least that's what I was doing at the start of the match. I don't really need to worry about doing any of that anymore because this team has been snowballed, so I'm kind of just seal clubbing everyone in sight at this point. Arcade tends to be a winner-take-all game mode. And oh, look at the time. I haven't gone around to explaining why I'm using ACM mode instead of TWS. So there's 3 main reasons. First, The improved Baz doesn't have TWS mode. It was supposed to, it doesn't. Welcome to patch day. Second, active radar homing on SPAMRAAMs kicks in at about 16 kilometers. In arcade at least, you really shouldn't be shooting at targets further than 15 kilometers away with these things, except under very specific circumstances. So far, in my experience with AMRAAM A's, tentatively speaking, I could change my mind later. Again, welcome to patch day. And reason number 3. You remember how there's all that stuff flying through the air in arcade? You got a lot more people and a lot more missiles, and they tend to be on much smaller maps. Trackwall Scan will pick up all that crap, and that makes it very hard to pick out your targets from all of that clutter. ACM is much better at picking out the actual targets you want to shoot at. I've tested out most of the SPAMRAAMers, at least a little bit, and their TWS modes do vary vastly in quality, so this is definitely a tentative rule of thumb, and it will vary from plane to plane. Some planes I'm sure you'll want to use TWS, some I'm sure will have TWS that you never want to touch. Anyways, I'm going to fast forward through the rest of this match. I've already run out of targets, and now I'm just waiting for the enemy team to time out so the game can end. And by the way, the sound effect for the M61 Vulcan got changed, and it sounds so much more satisfying now. I think the gun itself also got buffed, but I'm not sure. There we go, a 22-0 kill streak. So yeah, the new missiles are a lot of fun, and if you subscribe and ring the bell, you won't need to remember how to spell AOLIPay next time you want to watch one of my videos.